Hello everyone, welcome to another Stukent expert session. My name is Trevor Erickson and I'm excited to introduce our super cool social media expert today, Adelyn Biedenbach. She is the director of digital media for the NHL's Florida Panthers. Adelyn is going to teach us about social media scheduling and planning and what a content plan looks like within a real company, or in Adelyn's case, a professional hockey team. So without further ado, let's turn the time over to Adelyn.
Great. Thanks so much, Trevor. Really appreciate it. Really looking forward to being here today and talking a little bit about social media planning. As you said, I'm the Director of Digital Media here at the Florida Panthers. We are located in Sunrise, Florida. As part of my job here, I oversee our website, all of our social platforms, our mobile app, and basically any of our digital communications. I just finished up my third season here. And even in that short time, I've seen a lot of social and digital changes going forward. So, I'm here today to talk a little bit about creating a content plan, sort of that aspect of social media planning. And this topic, I think, is really interesting to those of you who are, still students of social media, or those of you who have been doing social media on a personal level for a long time and are kind of ready to take that next step over to doing social media for your brand or organization, or those of you who are already doing that and kind of want to take it a little bit of a step further. So today I'm going to be kind of overviewing really how to put together a content plan and some key tools that can help you achieve that. So first I'm going to throw some cliches at you. The 24-hour news cycle is a phrase that you probably hear all of the time, but what that really means, especially for social and digital media, is that you're never really shut off. All of your social platforms, whether that's Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, etc., they go around the clock, and even more than around the clock, they go 365 days a year. So how do you really put together a content plan to feed that news cycle, to feed your viewers? It's important to never take for granted that your followers or your viewers are going to be there, if they're there now, that they're going to stick. So it's feeding a content beast and really getting that content out there. So I think a lot of people have been doing social media since 2009, so many years now, but it's still kind of hard when you get into that situation, and how do you approach taking something that on a personal level you post whenever you're doing something cool or whenever something inspires you to post, to from a brand level you need to feed that content beast on a really regular basis. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I don't really want to get into kind of choosing specific platforms for your organization. I think that's a conversation that kind of varies from organization to organization, but I'm going to really kind of talk about how to put together that content plan, how to feed that content beast, and how to keep content going year-round. So step one, it's really important to understand your organization, and I think that this is a step that can sometimes be overlooked, but here at the Panthers, it's something that I kind of do on a weekly basis. So when I say understand your organization, what I really mean by that is I think the social people tend to be the people in the organization that know everything that's going on, right? So if there's, a really special season ticket holder event, you have to know that's going on and be ready to answer questions about that or do social media coverage of that, just as well as you need to know what's going on the ice or roster changes or anything like that too. So that's a specific hockey example, but I think any organization, the social media person needs to know kind of all of the extracurriculars, everything that's going on within the organization, all of the touch points within the organization, where the community team is going out to. And so I say understand your organization in that know what your organization's goals are, know what each departmental goals are. I have regular meetings with all of the different departments within our organizations almost weekly to understand what their goals are. I'm meeting with our sales team to know what's really important to push at this time. I'm meeting with our communications team to know, what press releases we'll have going out this week and that sort of thing. So I think that step one is really understanding your organization, and this isn't just an inventory that you're going to take when you start your social media job. It's something that you're going to do regularly. Your organization is going to change from week to week, from their key content message that week. If you're working for a retail organization, their key feature that week, season to season. So on the slide here, I have a photo of kind of the travel industry just to break it down as a little quick example of kind of discussing everything that's going on in your curriculars to begin your content plan. So if you're working in the travel industry, you're going to want to understand the trends for travel that particular year. You're going to want to understand customer service issues that are going on in travel that year that you can help with. You're going to want to understand what's cool and hot that time of year so you can play off of that. So really just step one in social media planning at all, where you really start to draw your content for the week, month, year, etc., is understanding your organization, its different departments, its key stakeholders, and that's a really good place to get started. So from there, learn your KPIs, and KPIs, key performance indicators, are really what you're going to judge yourself on. So there's going to be KPIs that you have for yourself. Maybe that's social media growth. How am I doing week to week? How am I tracking my own product here? How am I tracking, how many retweets am I getting? How many people are viewing my snaps? How many people are screenshotting my snaps? Those are going to be kind of your internal KPIs to track your own progress. But what are the KPIs that your organization is going to be looking to get out of you? And that's an important question to ask up front before you even put the pen to paper and start drafting any content. You want to know what your goals are. I think especially with social, it's easy to want to tackle absolutely everything at once, but how do you focus on what's the most important things for you to track and measure? So I put a few examples on the slide here of what might be KPIs that your organization's asking for. So maybe it's direct sales. Maybe you're a DSW or a shoe company like that, and you're putting a link to product in your content, and so you're going to be able to go back later and directly track how many people clicked, how many people bought. Maybe that's a KPI. So all of that's just going to say devise a system to track your KPIs before you even start planning out your content. And maybe your goal is just brand exposure, in which case you're going to want to be a little punchier, a little riskier. You're gonna judge yourself on how far of a reach that your content goes. You're going to judge yourself on, is my content opening up new eyeballs to my company that maybe have never seen my company before? Maybe your goal is customer service. So if you look at airline social, I think it's a really interesting space. They man their social in a totally different way, sometimes with signatures at the bottom, so-and-so is answering this question, or they'll post hours of operation, we're going to be answering questions 9 to 5, that kind of thing. So if customer service is how you're going to be measured, come up with that plan of attack. Are you going to be there around the clock? Are you going to have a staff around the clock? Or are you going to be open, on a certain point in time? So to review, kind of as you're preparing to develop a content plan and really tackle the day-to-day nitty-gritty of running social media, know your organization and know what you're going to be measuring and tracking for yourself. So who are you going to call? This is an important slide that I kind of put in here just to say that you need to know your organization and who within your organization you can go to in certain instances. And what I mean by that is, if I have a customer service question about season tickets, I have a friend on staff that I know I can call her up and she'll help me answer that question right away. So it's sometimes, you're not alone in attacking your social media and answering your fans' questions and putting content together day to day. You need to have those key people you can trust, those people you can text at 10 a.m. on a Sunday. A fan's having a problem with this, how can we help them? So having those people in your arsenal that you can go to and ask questions of when they come up from your fans, or ask questions too if you're writing a content post about a certain event. You want to make sure you get it right. Have that arsenal of people that you can go to and ask those questions of. So those are all kind of getting your ducks in a row before you start going out and building your content. So when you're ready to really develop your content, I say develop your stars. And what I mean by that is, think of each of these stars as your go-to content pieces, your toolbox, if you will, of content that's going to be, in your regular content schedule. So maybe the organization that you work for has a really successful video team. So one of these stars is going to be produce video content that team's putting together. Maybe you guys really have a rich history. So one of these stars is going to be Throwback Thursday. Maybe you guys really are into data collection, so one of these things is going to be surveys or contests. So you're going to develop your stars, and what that is your regularly reoccurring content pieces that you're going to go to. Is it a photo and a link to a product? That could be a star. Is it a contest? That could be a star. Is it a post with a sponsor? That could be a star. So it's developing that toolbar of stars that you're going to regularly plug into your content schedule. We regularly do videos on Tuesday, etc. So to give you an example from the hockey side, our content during the season is really driven by our game schedule, right? So we know that our stars on game day are game day coverage. We have video team, we have game previews, we have ticket sales. Those are our go-to posts we're going to post every single game day, as well as doing our kind of fun game day coverage. And my team and I put together photos, videos, vines, here, there, whatever, Snapchat filters, and that's all of our game day coverage, right? So in the off season, the summer right now, it's a little different, right? You have to kind of go to our stars and think of how we're going to drive our own content throughout the summer because we're not so schedule driven this time of year. So different companies and industries are going to be totally different in the way that they approach putting together a content plan. Sports were really schedule driven. Whereas in the summer, our stars are going to be community coverage or a Q&A with a player, a really in-depth kind of feature or a contest. Those are the stars that we're going to kind of go to in the summer that we know are tried and true and interesting content to our fans. So once you have your stars, you understand your KPIs, you know who in your organization is going to give you the best information and the most important message to get out there, and then you're going to want to think day by day to put together your content plan. So know your industry. What I mean by that is different industries are going to have different trends, right? You need to know what time of day is best to post for your industry. So, and that's going to be based on your consumers. So again, back to the hockey example, we know that on game days, we have a ton more eyeballs on our social and digital than, say a Sunday non-game day. So that's knowing your industry and knowing when people are going to buy. If you're a retail company around the holidays, obviously you're going to want to post more and keep that going. So keeping your industry in mind day by day as you're laying out your content plan and your content schedule. As a general rule of thumb, even on one of the slowest days for your organization, you're going to want some kind of post going out in the morning or afternoon. You don't want to let these channels really go unattended. It's important to give the illusion of continuing to be constantly in front of mind, those constant touch points with your fan base, your consumer base, whatever it is. So a good rule of thumb is something in the morning, something in the afternoon. That being said, I just kind of want to bring up that when it comes to social media planning and content creation, you also need to be prepared for anything. A few days ago was National Best Friends Day. Maybe not something that you factored into your initial calendar for the week or the month, but when stuff like that starts trending and there's something fun for your brand that you can put in there, you also got to be willing to be flexible and get that out there and build that into your day and get it out there. So be willing to change, and that's really important. Once you develop your stars and you have your content pieces, you don't want to get caught in a rut where you're posting the same thing. Every Monday it's contest day. Every Tuesday it's video day, unless that's working for you. So be willing to constantly use analytics and reporting tools to reevaluate, change your stars, change your strategy, and keep an eye on what's going. I mean, a lot of us, we tend to think our ideas are the best out there, but if no one's clicking on them, no one's engaging with them, it's time to rethink them. And the social and digital world is one that changes constantly. Who knows what the new platform will be or the new trend will be. So being very willing to change and agile and adjustable in this atmosphere is one of the most important things to keep in mind when you're social media planning and putting content together. All right, tools. So as an overview, after you kind of get your KPIs, know your go-to content pieces, think day to day, think month to month, and plan it out, you're going to want to use some sort of calendar to kind of help you feed that content beast and execute the day-to-day social and digital content. So that can be a written calendar on your desk, or we use Evernote, and it works really well for us. Our team, we share Evernote documents, and it's a great place because I can bring it up on my phone, I can bring it up on my iPad, I bring it up on my laptop, anywhere I am, I still have access to our calendar, so I can constantly kind of edit and be aware of what we have going on. You can use scheduling tools, Hootsuite, Oracle Social, TweetDeck, the native Facebook scheduler, any of those tools to kind of help you so that you don't have to be there all the time if you're a one-person social team. And those scheduling tools can help you kind of take, instead of just writing down your content, really get it out there and help you reevaluate times. So social listening, I think, is sometimes an underrated way to generate content. And what I mean by that, over at the BB&T Center, we have concerts and shows and events as well. So a lot of times just keeping a social search tab open for that artist will help us come up with a lot of really neat ideas about what's going on with that artist and their fans. And I think that that can really be a driver for content as well, is listening to what fans are saying, and not just what fans think, but what's being said about your brand and about your topic. And there's a famous adage out there, if you will, that there's a brand happening about your conversation. It's your choice to be involved in it or not. And I think that social listening tool kind of really hammers that home. What are people saying about your topic, about your industry, about your brand, and how can you create content to respond to that, answer that, or just be one of the guys in the conversation, be one of the fans, that sort of thing. So another tool that's important is to use some sort of analytics tool, whether that's the native Twitter analytics, which are great, the native Facebook analytics, or Hootsuite analytics, whatever it is that you choose, is having that go-to reporting system that helps you deliver KPIs to your company, as well as keep track for yourself of where you're going in the direction that you're heading. And then lastly, I would say industry newsletters are a really important tool to refer to constantly to see what's going on, what new tools are out there. Facebook releases a new feature all the time, and how can you kind of be aware of what other brands are doing with that feature? So you're following industry newsletters, following accounts that inspire you, and adjusting from there. So really kind of to wrap it all up, when you're approaching doing social media full time, you can kind of say to yourself, well, there are no holidays, there are no weekends, I can't just sign off and walk away. But there are ways that you can kind of plan ahead for that. Be aware of your industry. Use these scheduling tools. Keep an eye out for anything, and kind of there are a lot of ways that you can communicate the message of your brand and keep it going year round. At the Panthers, as I mentioned, during the season, we're so driven by what the schedule, what's going on, news topics. In the summer, we sort of generate it on our own. What are we doing out there in the community? What are our fans doing? How can we tell that story? So it really is a year-round thing, and there's a lot of opportunities and tools that can make the 24/7 aspect of it easier, but also make it a really useful tool for you to communicate, as well as for your organization to communicate its message.